Hello everyone, this is In-Game Art with another box and another offline product game review. This is Fuga, Melodies of Steel for the Nintendo Switch, but being played and tested on my Nintendo Switch too. To jump right into it, this physical copy here comes with the update version 1.1.6 run on the cartridge, but sadly there was an update available. This update size was 216 megabytes big and will take you to version 1.1.7 since the time of this video. Now like always, I play all my games completely offline with an unregistered account, and I didn't experience any massive game-breaking bugs or issues. The game worked perfectly fine from beginning to end, and I was able to fully beat the game with no updates. Also, I do want to include this physical copy does not include any DLC content on the physical cartridge. Most of the DLC just seemed to be like cosmetical outfits. I didn't see anything like in terms of story or more expansion to the game, so it's just cosmetical outfits at the time of this video that I've only seen, but that is not on the cartridge, just letting you know. Now, if you're probably curious, this physical copy here of Fuga Melodies of Steel is only available in Japan. Now, the game is available on other platforms like PlayStation 4, PlayStation 5, Steam, and so forth, but physically it is only available for the Nintendo Switch 1, and it's only available in Japan. Now, this Japan physical copy does support full English menus as well as subtitles, but there is no English voice acting. There's only, I think, French and Japanese for voice acting, but the game can be played fully in English and as well as other languages. Now, oddly enough, as I said, it's only available in Japan. Whether we will see a new or wider print release outside of Japan, like in Europe or America, it is debatable, as we have still seen several physical copies still only available in Japan or Asian regions, and it's been quite a number of years. So, and those games that I'm talking about does support full English and stuff like that. So, I would like to say, hey, wait to see if maybe we'll get like a limited run or fan game or just a wide release printed version, but you never know. And as well as that, the game does include there is a sequel as well as a third part of the series, which is available physically again for Japan for the Nintendo Switch 1. So it's really going to be up to you whether you're going to feel that this game is worth importing it and having it on your shelf because it's only available in Japan. But now, Fuga Melodies of Steel is a little bit more smaller, lower brow game. It took me around 20 hours to beat, or give or take. There's a little asterisk to this because of certain things I was doing, experimenting and stuff like that. But the overall game is a little bit more, how do you say, a RPG visual novel, if you will. Now, it is a bit more RPG. It's not a lot of, constantly, visual novel, as some people may be worried with that word, but, there is planning, strategy, building up resources, upgrading, and as well as leveling up, and as well as orienting your crew to be able to operate the tank. And that is the point of the story. The game takes place where Germany or Burmany is attacking this particular town, and you as kids run away from the village that is being attacked by Burmany, which it's more of a reference to World War I, maybe World War II. And you eventually go into a cave and you find a super giant tank, and as well you take control of this tank. Now, the interesting part of the story is that every character that you control in the game is a child. The oldest, I believe, is 13 years old, and and the youngest is 4 years old. So every character in this vehicle or in the game that you control in the campaign is at least a child or a little bit older, like early teens. So I thought that was very fascinating, as well as the strategy side of the game was very interesting, where you have each character has a specific weaponry that they use, whether a machine gun, a light grenade launcher, or a powerful tank barrel blaster. Now each one has their own skills and abilities, and as well as you partner them up between people that you've built up relationships, and they will be able to provide you benefits throughout that companionship, as well as in mid-battle you can change out the orientation. So if let's say if you wanted a particular character to do something, but they're in the back before enemy actions, you can go into the tank and move them into that position so they can get their turn quicker. Now you have a cooldown to do this, you can't just keep doing it. But I thought that strategicness was very interesting, as well as the trying to deploy characters as well as upgrading your vehicle to be able to survive the waves of higher, tougher enemies. And that is the interesting aspects. The game does have a branching path system where it's got a dangerous route, safe route, and a normal route. But I can't help but feel this is a little bit of a red herring. Now, I played the entire game and I always went through the dangerous route, and even with constantly going through the dangerous route and getting the most resources, the most experience, and doing everything I can to get the most out of a run, the game was still quite significantly challenging at certain moments or certain bosses. So I can't help but feel if you constantly go the safe route, you may soft lock yourself to a certain degree where you can't progress unless you do a specific action, which I'll get into in a second. But so it might be a little bit dangerous to constantly go the safe route if you're trying to hurry up and beat the game, or you're just only interested in the story. So just keep that in mind about the safe route may not be the best route in terms of beating the game and if you're going to want to get the true ending. But we're going to talk about some little hindrances here. I did have noticed some spelling errors here and there. Nothing crucial, but I know some people could be very finicky about this. There was also some light stutters occasionally here when it's like loading up the levels or loading up certain segments. Nothing serious, but it's noteworthy. As well as that anytime you start the game up, the game will linger at a black screen for a while before the Unreal Engine title pops up from the beginning of the game. So don't worry about when you start up the game, it's just lingering in a black screen. It'll sit there for a while, so don't freak out about that one if the game froze up. And in terms of experience, that's about it. There was nothing really else that really hindered my experience. Everything else worked really well. Anything else I'm going to talk about is just certain game aspects to the game. Which, again, I'm really happy the game worked perfectly fine to beginning and end. But the one thing that did annoy me is that, as I talked about, you do have like certain things you can do inside the tank, like tasks where you can like upgrade your tank, or like scrap fishing, as well as gardening or cooking and stuff like that. You can actually fail these tasks. Now, when you do these tasks, you have a certain amount you can do each segment. So you can like do 20 tasks, and each task has a certain amount of energy it requires to be able to, you can't do anymore. The idea that you can fail these, and it's very crucial you don't fail some of these, is a little annoying, and as well as since it's got strict resources, this can be a little cumbersome. I mean, you can't really manually save in this game. You can only literally do like a temporary quick save, which you can abuse the system. So just before you're going to do a task that has a percentage of failing, just back out to the main title and it will do a temporary save, then load up your save and then do that task. And if it fails, just instead of going back to the main menu, hit the Nintendo button, go to the Nintendo's main menu, close out the application, and reboot the game back up, and you can reload your previous temporary save that you just made before failing that task. This is even with me doing all of that, as well as doing all the dangerous route, that the computer was still pretty challenging at certain moments, because I can only imagine how difficult this game would be if you just constantly do the safe route in the game. Let's just give you an idea. That's the one thing I felt like it didn't really provide anything, is the failing a task. I don't know what kind of benefit that really provided to the game, especially if you're working with limited resources, or you need to do a specific thing and not have it fail so you can have a specific upgrade. I just feel like that was a little bit of a bad design. As well as that, I talked about the pick a path, but I was also want to talk about how sometimes you'll introduce a character new into your roster, and annoyances of older RPGs where you get this newer character in your roster, but they're under level. So like they're already under level compared to the rest of your group, and I'm really tired of seeing that. I don't understand why they can't just have them match the max level, or match the main lowest level of your party, instead of just being some random number. Like I'll be all level 38, and this new character I added into it's like a 35. It's like he's all lower compared to everyone else. It's just, I find that frustrating. I wish that would go away. That's pretty much it in terms of my experience, in terms of mechanics. Now, the big thing I'm going to bring up is I talked about if you're going to fail a match or going to lose against a powerful enemy, as if you constantly use the safe route. What is interesting is that the game has a mechanic called the Soul Cannon. And what the Soul Cannon is that if you're about to lose a fight, the Soul Cannon unlocks. And you can be able to use it to be able to defeat any enemy, whether it's the basic enemy or a important boss. But you have to pick one of the main casts to stick into the Soul Cannon, and it allows you to instantly win that fight. But what happens is it permanently kills that character for the rest of the game. Now, what I found fascinating is, as I said, every character is a child or a very young teen. So you literally have the option to stick a 4-year-old into the Soul Cannon to use it to be able to defeat the enemy. I just found that very fascinating, and as well as kind of heartbreaking. I won't lie, when I first came across it, and I had to stick one of the characters into the soul cannon. I got a little emotional having to choose one of these like cute little furry characters to stick into soul cannon to permanently kill them from the rest of the game. It was very interesting. And that's why I think it's why they tried to have that trapment of the safe route, where they try to trick you to go the safe route to force you to use the soul cannon to have that impact of the story. Now, if you want to get the true ending, you cannot have any main characters in your roster die or using the soul cannon, as well as that you'll eventually get a character called Brits. And Brits is a character you get near the end of the game, and you have to get an affection rating with all characters at least level 2 to get the true ending, which I found that a little annoying because it interrupted my flow in terms of getting resources. Now I had to stop and make sure everyone became friends with Brits, so I found that a little annoying. But if you want to get the true ending, you got to make sure to constantly go doing the dangerous route so you can get the most experience and resources and not fall into the trap of trying to do the safe route. Only do the safe route if you have absolutely no choice, because you're about to lose all your entire tank and everyone's knocked out and stuff like that, and you have to do a safe route to be able to survive without using the soul cannon, of course. I really enjoyed this game. The story was interesting, the characters were interesting, the mechanics were interesting. Sure, it's nowhere in depth, it's nowhere near as complicated, and it's not something like Baldur's Gate 3 in terms of strategy, but the mechanics work, the gameplay worked, the visuals worked, the overall aesthetic and music, it all just meshed really well, and that extra layering of, like I said, I've always had a fascination of seeing video games where you play as children and put them in very dark and serious situations. Like this one, set in somewhat of a alternate universe of World War One. We have Germany attacking like a version of France, and you have to have these children in a serious war scenario, and then people are being killed and killed off, or you have to kill one of the children to be able to keep the rest of them alive. It's a very dark but undertone cute as well. It's just a very interesting game, and this is just the first one in the series. There's 2 more games in the series, and I'm very interested to play them after playing this one. Now, after I beat this game, the game does unlock New Game Plus, and if I didn't have other games to play, I probably would have replayed this game to see other endings. It would be nearly hard for me to get the bad ending, which you apparently have to sacrifice at the very end of the game. You have to sacrifice pretty much all the children and have only one child left to defeat the main boss. I mean, that would just devastate me to have to sacrifice all these children. I mean, it would be really difficult. To me, this game is a hidden little gem to put on your shelf. Now, whether we're going to get a physical copy outside of Japan, I don't know. But at the time of this video, this is only available in Japan, the first, second, and third, and I highly recommend, especially the first one. I haven't played the second one or third one, and the game is somewhat left up a cliffhanger, but not really, depending on your interpretation. It can be its one-off, but there is a bit of a, in-credits special scene, if you will. So it kind of leaves off a bit of a cliffhanger, but... And I'm glad I played this. This was a hidden little gem. I'm glad I sat down and played it. It's probably shot up pretty high on my favorite Nintendo Switch games. And it worked just fine on my Nintendo Switch 2 as a game that fully supports English. It's only available in Japan, but I do recommend it. It's a fun little game. It just depends on how much you're going to be able to invest yourself. If you're not into furries or anything like that, you're not really into JRPG mechanics or cute little visual novel kind of story and bonding moments, and it is a bit of the friendship is magic kind of story, but it is undertone pretty dark as well, and I really enjoyed it for that. So again, thank you all so much for watching. I will provide links down in the description if you're interested in a copy. In my personal opinion, it may become a special hidden collectible on the Nintendo Switch, especially if it never gets released outside of Japan for a physical copy. So again, thank you all so much for watching, and I'll see you guys next unboxing video. Bye-bye!